We're going to do a little driving tour of Queen Anne. Queen Anne is a nice neighborhood. It's right up the hill from Belltown, South Lake Union, which is where Amazon is. There's a Google office. I believe there are Facebook offices there as well. So just up the hill, it has amazing views over the water, the sound, and you can see all the way to West Seattle. Cary Park is one of the most iconic places in Queen Anne. We're gonna drive around and show you a little bit about what the streets are like in Queen Anne and everything you need to know so you can get an idea of what it's like. Let's start our little driving tour. We're starting our little Queen Anne tour. We are going down the east side of Queen Anne. So we were about halfway up the hill on Queen Anne Ave, and we're heading down to the east side. So Queen Anne spans from really a neighborhood called West Lake, which is west of Lake Union, all the way over to the water when you go to Ballard, or what people would call Inner Bay. So we're starting going east, and we may actually have to have two parts to this video because Queen Anne is a pretty big hill. Over here on the east side, a lot of what you see is more townhomes and apartment buildings or condo buildings. So you don't see as many single family homes in this area. This is the first street that we're gonna stop on or go down, which is 5th Avenue North. So this goes all the way up the hill, but here on 5th Avenue North, there's a few little shops and restaurants. So we're kind of on the east side of Queen Anne. You have a couple bars here, as you can see. There's a coffee shop, and this is definitely more condo buildings. So when we turned there, we're headed south. So now we are going south, and we're going towards basically Seattle Center. And so as we get closer to Seattle Center, this is where you have Climate Pledge Arena. You also have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which we're going to go past here real quickly and show you a little bit of what that looks like. So on the left here, you have a big grocery store right at the intersection of Mercer and 5th, and then which is called QFC. And then you also have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation here on the left, which is obviously a big part of Queen Anne. We're not going to turn left there anymore because there was too much traffic. So we're continuing to go south here, and this is where we get closer into Seattle Center. On the right here, and what we'll go past is that you see Seattle Center. So you have the Space Needle, the bottom of the Space Needle, as well as the O-Pop, which is a museum of music. And so you have a lot more tourists around this area in Queen Anne, and where we are is really at the southern tip of Queen Anne, where it starts to turn into Belltown, which is the neighborhood just north of downtown. Continuing south, right here where Queen Anne turns into Belltown or South Lake Union. Belltown is to the south of Queen Anne. South Lake Union is really to the east of Queen Anne. And in both of those neighborhoods, the height restrictions are higher. So they've started to build a lot more new buildings in this area. And for that reason, there are more skyscrapers over here than there are in Lower Queen Anne. Now, a lot of people call this Lower Queen Anne, but some would call this Uptown. Not right exactly here, but right here we're at Seattle Center, which is where the Chihuly Glass Museum is. Like I mentioned before, Mopop, the base of the Space Needle. There are a lot of events here, and it kind of connects to Climate Pledge Arena. So you have a lot of tourists around this area who come out and want to see the Space Needle, obviously, and hang out around here. And then as we get a little further west, what you'll see is the neighborhood that I was referring to as Uptown, or what most people would call Lower Queen Anne. So we're going to turn onto Denny Way. So now we will be going west. And so we're going to be at this, I would say, is the border of Queen Anne, really. So anything south of Denny Way is really Belltown. anything north of Denny Way is really Queen Anne, in my opinion. And Queen Anne stretches, like I mentioned, east to west, really from Westlake all the way over to Inner Bay. So as we turn here, you'll see the water over there. Right along the water is really Inner Bay. That's the view you get, especially as you're further up on the hill in Queen Anne. So here we see the Pacific Science Center on our right, which is also part of Seattle Center. So it's a great museum, especially for kids. A lot of tourists come here as well. I think they have like summer programs also. We're not going to go all the way to the western border of Queen Anne. Again, that is similar to the eastern border where there's a lot of condo and apartment buildings, and it's more Inner Bay, turns into a neighborhood called Inner Bay. So it's a little less exciting, and it doesn't show as much of what truly Queen Anne is. And what I mean by truly Queen Anne is when we get to the top of Queen Anne, which is where we're going to go next, so that we can see Queen Anne Ave on Upper Queen Anne. So there's Lower Queen Anne, which we're on now, or as some people refer to it as Uptown. And then there's Upper Queen Anne, where there's a little bit more going on, a few more things. And then the homes turn more into residential homes. And you'll start to see that as we go into some of the really amazing streets where there are these huge homes that overlook the water that are sitting on the hillside. And that's really a big part of Queen Anne, is this residential part, all surrounding Queen Anne Ave. So right now we're going on to First Ave, which was going to take us up kind of halfway up the hill. So again, southern border of Queen Anne right here, more apartments and condos here. And then what you're going to see as we go in here is you're going to see the Climate Pledge Arena, which is the new arena that Jeff Bezos owns or took over. It's right here on the right. So here you have Climate Pledge, the Kraken play here, which is super fun. A lot of concerts here. They've completely redone this, which is really nice. And then to the left of this, you have condo buildings, apartments, and a lot of restaurants and nightlife. So there is a lot of restaurants and nightlife here. As you can see, like Agave here on our right, some more restaurants over there. And then we get up to Mercer. So Mercer kind of divides Upper Queen Anne and Lower Queen Anne. On our right, you see Metropolitan Market. That's another nice grocery store. This is the same exact street that we crossed over when we saw the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So now we're headed west, but if we had gone east there, we would have gone back to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on this same street. We are eventually going to turn right to start heading north in Queen Anne. And like I mentioned, this is going to put us into Upper Queen Anne as we go up this hill. Following a nice Seattle bus here, turning right onto First Avenue West. So the streets turn into west on this side of Queen Anne, up to Roy Street, and then we'll go around. So we're headed north now. We're gonna go back east just so that we can go up Queen Anne Ave, because it's pretty much the most iconic street in Queen Anne that takes you all the way up the hill. So we'll go around here, heading east again, and then we're going to turn on to Queen Anne Ave, which will take us headed north again, headed all the way up the hill. Let's head up this big hill. So Queen Anne Ave takes you all the way up this big hill. I don't think you'd want to walk up this, so good to know for if you don't have a car. Definitely not a hill to walk up. So we're gonna head all the way up Queen Anne. On Queen Anne Ave, there's a lot of condos here. It's a busier road, so it's a little less residential because there is a lot of traffic coming in and out of Queen Anne through this road. So there's not a ton of homes right on this road. Definitely more apartment buildings, condos, and not to mention, as you go down this hill, you have an amazing view of the water. Some people building up here to try to capture that view and make sure I don't get in a car wreck as we are driving through here. And now we're pretty much at the top of the hill. So this is officially Upper Queen Anne. Now in Upper Queen Anne, the primary thoroughfare is Queen Anne Ave, all the way north to south. You see Olympia Pizza here. On our left, there's a condo building that people have bought in before. And then you come to this nice little three-way stop. And we're gonna veer slightly right, but really what this is continuing us north. And now we're officially on Upper Queen Anne. On Queen Anne Ave, you have a ton of restaurants here. Coffee, Seattle Gym is up here, their Queen Anne location. Tons of different services here as well that you can take advantage of in this neighborhood. Now, to the east and the west up here, this is where you're definitely going to find more of the single family homes. So you'll find a lot more single family homes. It feels a little bit more like a neighborhood. There's also the coveted Trader Joe's here at the top of Queen Anne, which a lot of people really love. And the only other one, or the closest other one, is at the top of Capitol Hill. So you kind of got to pick which one you want to go to because you're not going to be able to see them all. Here we are, top of Queen Anne, going on Queen Anne Ave, and we're gonna go east here for a second and just take a little gander at some of the houses here on Queen Anne Ave. So you can see immediately after you turn off Queen Anne Ave, you start to see more residential homes. So definitely bigger, like 4 squares right here in front of us. A lot of much larger, older historic homes. Queen Anne is a very old neighborhood, so you're probably going to see homes that have been around since the early 1900s, and a lot of these big homes still have yards and many of them have been updated. The hardest part about Queen Anne, as you might be able to tell, is the lack of parking in Queen Anne. So when you come, or if you live in Queen Anne, you definitely want to have a parking spot because it can be really tricky to find parking. So a lot of the garages that you'll see around here are very small because they're very old. So not all cars can fit into them. So it's something you need to be aware of if you're buying in Queen Anne, is that when you come here, a car may not fit in the garage. So really important to make sure you're aware of. Now in Queen Anne, these homes typically start above $1 million if you are moving into a single family home. A lot of the townhomes also start, if not above $1 million, at $1 million. It is a more expensive neighborhood, and that is because it is so sought after, and there's a lot of great amenities in Queen Anne. So we just turned left to go back towards Queen Anne Ave, so we're headed west right now. And you'll see Bounty Kitchen, we have Cafe Hagen, Rappa, and then the local Starbucks. So here on Queen Anne Ave, we'll head back this way to see some more of what's going on and see lots of people out and about. It's Thursday afternoon and everybody's out and about having a good time. So that is a lot of Queen Anne and what you need to know, especially about this area of Queen Anne and what it looks like, the new Safeway here on the left with apartments above it, and what to expect if you're in Queen Anne. Might have to do a part 2 because this is just half of Queen Anne. We've barely hit the other side of Queen Anne, the west side of Queen Anne, which is closer to Inner Bay. So if you want to see Inner Bay, come back to our next video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.